Hey there, my friend, it's Dr. A, and welcome to today's video. Today we're gonna cover 6 stretching and mobility exercises that I want you to do more of in 2023. And these are some stretches and mobility exercises that you're likely not doing already, but I promise you this, when you pick a couple of these from this list and you start doing them, your body's gonna feel so much better. It's gonna feel more open, you'll have better flexibility, your posture's gonna improve, your energy levels will improve, because it's a fact. We don't just need to focus on exercises and workouts, we also need to take care of ourselves with the kind of stretches and mobility exercises. So I know you're gonna love this list. We're gonna get into those in just a second. You're gonna see me demonstrate them and show you different couple form varieties as well as ways you can incorporate this into your routine. And I also want to let you know that this video is a follow-up to our 6 best exercises for 2023 video we published a few weeks ago, and if you missed that, you can find that in the description. Let's get into today's video and get into our first mobility and stretching exercise for 2023. All right, so the first stretch and mobility exercise I have for you is cactus arms. Or at least that's what my wife and I call them. But basically the idea is I want you to get your shoulders into this L position, retract your shoulder blades back, and now in this position, move up and down just like this. And I'm gonna show you a couple different varieties of how you can do this, but before I wanna tell you why this is so important. Today's day and age, most of us are so compressed and hunched forward, whether we're looking down onto our phones, whether we're on a computer screen hunched over. We need to reverse all this kyphosis and tightness in the chest by extending open like this, creating extension in the shoulder blades. And that's what cactus arms do. And there's a couple varieties. And the first one is a way you can actually test your upper body mobility, is you can put your butt up against the wall, get your cactus arms, and see if you can drag your arms up against the wall and see if they can touch, or if there's a ton of space. There's a ton of space between the back of your arm and the wall. You need to work on your mobility here. And you can do these cactus arms standing just like this as a little break from work, or you can get down on the ground, put a foam roller on your back and pin that upper back and do the cactus arms like this. And if you find there's any tender stuff around your shoulder blades in different areas, put pressure on it, move the cactus arms through, and it's gonna improve your mobility phenomenally. Because look, over the next few years, we're gonna see so many people with bad postures from all this phone and technology stuff. You need to learn how to be strong and open up, and that's what cactus arms do. Let's move into our second stretch and exercise on this list. So the second mobility and stretching exercise is rolling your feet. Look, our feet are like the unsung heroes of these bodies. Wherever we move, our feet are the contact point, and the feet have over 100 different bones, ligaments, muscles, tendons, and we just don't give our feet enough love. And those muscles get tired, they get cramped, and when they do, our whole posture changes. And I don't know if you've ever had a foot injury, but you know how devastating it can be if something's hurting your foot. And one of the best things you can do to take care of your feet and your posture and your energy is to roll your feet out. And so I'm gonna show you a different couple varieties of how you can roll your feet out. You can use something like a lacrosse ball, and you put that underneath, you stand on one foot at a time, you roll that out. You can get a broomstick or some kind of large cylindrical thing and put both of your arches on your feet there. Sometimes when I'm working on a computer for long stretches, I'll get a little broomstick underneath my feet and just kind of roll like that. Or I'll do it before I exercise to really open my feet up, get my arch going. Particularly if you're someone who likes to run, open your feet up. And I find if you're doing this and you find there's a lot of pressure and tender points, this is something you need to do regularly. Look, this is one of the things that only takes like 30 seconds to 1 minute to give you benefit, but it's like, are you gonna make the time to do this? And so give yourself a test right now. Use a lacrosse ball, a golf ball, or even your finger and see how tender is the bottom of your foot. Are there areas you need to work on? And if you do, you're just gonna feel so much better and so much more open. So roll your feet more in 2023. Let's get into the third mobility exercise on this list. All right, so the third mobility and stretching exercise is spinal traction. And what I mean by spinal traction is taking the spine and lengthening it. And there's 2 main ways you can do this. The first and simplest way is to do what's called a dead hang, where you get up onto a pull-up bar or something like this, and you're just hanging, and you're allowing your grip to be very strong, but your arms to be nice and relaxed, and you're allowing that spine to be lengthened out through gravity. Now, this dead hang does require that you have a strong enough grip, and your feet don't have to be totally off the ground. Your toes can be slightly touching, and you're just giving a portion of your weight off the ground. What you're gonna find is this tractions the spine gently and opens things up, because your spine is like a stack of these different Lego blocks with discs in between them. And we get compressed as we age, we shrink, it puts all this kind of pressure on those spinal nerves, which can lead to pain, but also organ dysfunction and all sorts of things here. So we wanna traction the spine. The dead hang is a good thing. Here's the thing to aim for. You can work up to a 60 to 90 second dead hang, fully hanging. You're gonna get a lot of benefit. You can do this daily. The other option, which I absolutely love, is to hang from your feet using an inversion table or an inversion board. And so this is me on an inversion table right here, and they don't have to go all the way upside down. In fact, the one I'm demonstrating here doesn't actually go all the way upside down. It just kind of goes to, like, let's say 3/4. But what's so cool is when you start to get upside down, you get this gentle traction on the spine. It feels so good. If you're someone who's had sciatic pain, back pain, many people swear by the fact inversion tables have changed their life. If that's you, comment below, let me know. This is something I do a couple times per week. It's fantastic. And I like to do it before I eat or first thing in the morning. You don't want to do this right after you've had a big meal and then just go invert yourself, and that does a lot of crazy stuff to the system. So do it first thing in the morning, or you can do this in the evening before you go to bed to stretch things out after a long day. This is going to benefit your spine health so much. Let's get into the next stretch and exercise on this list. All right, so number 4 is doing a unilateral glute stretch. Our glutes get so tight, oftentimes because they're a little bit weak. And so we've covered a lot of exercises like swings and squats that are great for overall glute health. But one thing you can do is actually start to stretch them. And there is a classic stretch called the pigeon pose that I'll demonstrate here on the floor, where you have one glute in this kind of like externally rotated position. You're sitting into that glute, stretching it out. Very, very good. You can do this on the floor, and you can hold it for anywhere from like 1 minute up to 3 minutes. And what's also fun to do is a little bit of pulses while you're there, where you contract the glute and relax it, contract the glute and relax it, and maybe even try to move your forehead closer to the floor. You're gonna find a deep stretch in that glute. It's so good. Now, if you're just starting out, you can also do this in a standing version by using, let's just say, a couch or a chair or a tabletop. And you can stand up and stretch that one single glute. I want you to work both sides. Aim for doing this like 1 to 2 sets each side once per day. It's gonna open up those glutes, which means you're gonna move so much better, you're gonna feel so much stronger. Absolutely essential, because if you exercise regularly, eventually you're gonna get some buildup of some tight, knotted up tissue in your glutes. So working with the stretch is absolutely phenomenal. Let's move into the next mobility exercise on this list. Number 5 is a unilateral hip flexor stretch. So hip flexors are muscles that allow us to do this. Flex and move our hip up. And there's a couple main muscles that do that. One is the psoas. This is the psoas muscle. It's one of the strongest muscles in our bodies. The problem is when we're sitting all the time like this, that psoas gets incredibly tight. And when it gets tight, we start to hunch forward like this. We start to have some pain in our low back. We don't want any of that. So we got to stretch that sucker out. There's a couple different varieties of how you can do it. The first and the easiest one is a standing psoas stretch. You can see me doing that right here. I'm basically in a high lunge kind of position, and I like to do this with my hand. I like to move my same hand as my foot is back up in front and twist and lengthen my body, and I contract my glute as I'm doing this. This is a really beautiful stretch, and you can sit into this for about 1 minute to 2 minutes each side. Really, really good. You can break up your sitting if you work on a desk job or you're driving for a long commute. You can do this before and after you're sitting for a long period of time. It absolutely benefits you. Now, the more advanced version is you can actually do a very intense hip flexor stretch using like a couch or something like this. You can see me now doing that. You're gonna need a pad underneath your knee. You're gonna put one leg back at a certain time, and then you can see how intense this stretch is as you contract your glutes. You might have to work into this, but if you're an athlete and you're really looking at pushing your performance, this is 100% a stretch you should do either before or after exercise. It's really beneficial. Let's get into the next exercise on this list. All right, so mobility exercise number 6 is spinal flexion and extension. So our spine is meant to move in many different planes. One is flexion and extension, and of course we have lateral bending. Now, as we talked about with the cactus arms in number 1, most of us need to get more into spinal extension to open up. And so one way we can do that is by learning how to mobilize the spine. And there's a couple different flows that you can do. You can do something like a cat-cow. So you see me doing this right now, where you're in a quadruped on all fours position, and you're pushing, and then you're extending, and you're going back and forth. Whatever feels good for you to move your spine into flexion and extension is going to be so, so important for your health as you age, because the quality of your spine ultimately determines the quality of your mobility and of your life. And now this is a really good thing to do first thing in the morning to kind of wake yourself up and activate yourself. This is a really good thing to do before exercise, just a few passes like this to move that spine. And I like to combine flexion and extension exercises with a foam rolling session. Just roll your back a little bit, do some flexion and extension. You're gonna feel so good and so opened up, and it's really easy to do. All it takes is a few minutes. And as we've gone through this list, you can combine all of these different stretches we've gone verbatim, top and bottom, starting with cactus arms, into rolling your feet, into the spinal traction, the glute stretch, hip flexors, and now into spinal flexion and extension. Absolutely phenomenal. So do this every single day. It's going to benefit you. And now I have one more surprise bonus thing for you in this video. I want to share one more exercise I think you should do more of in 2023. All right, so the last bonus exercise I have for you is not exactly a stretch, but it's super important. I want to include it, is doing a hollow body hold. Now, a hollow body hold is an exercise a lot of gymnasts do to learn how to integrate tension through the body. And what it is effectively like laying down on the ground and making yourself like concave, where you're actually flexing and drawing in your abs, and you're in this kind of like rocking position where you could actually rock your body because you're in this concave. You can also do it by being up on a pull-up bar and doing a dead hang kind of thing. And then when you're in a dead hang, you can just slightly flex your abs, roll your pelvis up and under, and contract your quads. And now you're in this hollow body hold. And what you want to do here is hold this for around 30 seconds and create integrated tension in your core. This is so good. It's going to help you become so much stronger when your core and your quads and your arms and everything can be integrated. I want you to do this as either a warm-up before any kind of exercise session, or you can even do it at the tail end of any time you do any core training. Anytime you're training a core, end with some hollow body holds. It's really good for your overall well-being. I hope you found this list valuable, my friend. These are simple things you can incorporate. If you work a desk job and you're constantly sitting down, just break up your sitting and do these a couple times per day. Make this a part of your daily ritual. Your body's gonna feel so much better because when we're opened up, when tissues are fluid and moving, when we have blood flow, we feel so much more alive, we feel energized, and that translates to a better mood and a better quality of life. So I want you to see how integrated this movement is into your overall well-being, and that's the promise I have for you. You do this, you're gonna feel better in 2023. I hope you enjoyed today's video.